What is up, everybody? My name is Ruby, and welcome back to this week's episode of Ruby's Final Score. If you're new here, basically each week I go over the top sports headlines and give you guys my opinions of everything that's going on. So let's get right into this week's episode of Ruby's Final Score. So we have yet another NFL update. Week 9 has officially concluded, and I can't believe we are already halfway through the regular season. The Steelers faced off against the Cowboys this week, and it was a pretty rough game, to say the least. I'm embarrassed to even talk about this one, so let's get it over with quickly. So the Cowboys played their fourth-string quarterback Garrett Gilbert and honestly looked decent, leading 13-0 at one point. The Steelers, on the other hand, did not look their best. Ben Roethlisberger got hit in the knee right before halftime, but managed to complete 4 for 4 passes, including a touchdown to James Washington before heading back to the locker room. The half ended with Dallas leading 13-9 with a 59-yard field goal by Chris Boswell, who had an off game, making that but missing 2 extra points. Thankfully, the Steelers came out in the second half looking a little better and managed to get a 24-19 win, especially after some key penalties on the Cowboys defense later in the game. It was a well-fought, dirty game though, and it made me not lose hope about the Cowboys either. Their defense held Pittsburgh to only 46 rushing yards, and they played really well. They have a bye week and then face the Vikings week 11, while the 8-0 undefeated Steelers, for the first time in franchise history by the way, head back to Pittsburgh to play the Bengals this week. The Chiefs and the Panthers faced off in what was a way closer game than expected, with the Chiefs barely winning 33-31. To be fair, the Panthers did finally have star running back Christian McCaffrey back after a terrible injury earlier this season, and he jumped right back into the game. Both quarterbacks had over 300 passing yards, but the Chiefs fell short in the run game, only ending up with 36 rushing yards. Kansas City pulled through in the end though and is 8-1 going into their bye week, whereas Bridgewater and the Panthers will take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers this week. Now, speaking of Tom Brady and the Bucs, they played an awful Sunday Night Football game this season, resulting in Tom Brady suffering his worst loss ever. The Bucs lost 38-3 against the Saints and didn't score their field goal until the last 5 minutes of the game. Going into Sunday Night Football, I was expecting a great game with 2 legendary quarterbacks, both teams playing well, and the Bucs now with Antonio Brown, but I was wrong. To be honest, I think AB has a curse or something. I don't know. Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions and got sacked 3 times, whereas Brees played a seemingly perfect game, throwing no interceptions, only getting sacked once, and throwing 4 touchdown passes. The Saints' defense was also on fire, but so was their offense, rushing 138 total yards versus Tampa Bay's 8. With stars like Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara, and Taysom Hill playing great games, there was no way they would not get the dub. And last up, the Dolphins upset the Cardinals, tying their records both 5-3 with a 34-31 win. The 2 young quarterbacks played great games, and it honestly could have gone either way, but it came down to Zane Gonzalez, the Cardinals kicker, missing a field goal after the 2-minute warning that allowed the Dolphins to run down the clock and take the win. The Cardinals did lead offensively, with Murray throwing for 283 yards and the team gaining 178 rushing yards, but it apparently was not enough against the now 5-3 Dolphins. All in all, it was a great week for NFL Week 9, and I'm super excited to go into Week 10. Unfortunately, the clock has run out for this week's episode of Ruby's Final Score. To recap what we went over, the Steelers barely pulled out a win against the Cowboys, which I'd honestly like to forget about that game. The Chiefs and Panthers played, with the Chiefs barely also scraping by against the Panthers. Tom Brady and the Bucs faced Drew Brees and the Saints with a terrible blowout game ending 38-3 in the Saints' favor, and the Cardinals and Dolphins played each other, with the Dolphins securing a win. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up and make sure to subscribe down below so you do not miss a video each week. I'll see you guys next week for Ruby's Final Score.